These are 3 Bible verses that completely changed my life. It turned me from a boy's thinking to a man's thinking. Let's get right into it. I'm going to pull up these 4 verses right here. All right. Make sure you guys can see this just fine. First, 1 Timothy 2, 11, 14. You'll be surprised to hear this one for a video like this, but let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was formed first, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. So, before any retard comments, do I hate women? Are women bad people? Of course not. I think women are great. My favorite person in the world is my mom. Okay, women are great. But what is my point in showing this? The point in me showing this is that men and women are different. Okay? When I hear Christians talk a lot, this is what I hear. They're like, oh man, women, they always speak about them in the same ways. They don't differentiate them enough. You know, if you're going to speak as a Christian man, if you're going to speak from the biblical perspective, you have to be talking about men and women in different terms about 80% of the time. Right? The only times it would not be is in matters of faith, believing in God, resurrection, having faith, so on and so forth. Aside from that, when you talk about what they should do in their earthly lives, what they should do in how they speak, what they should do in their work, so on and so forth, well, women should be at home. So, work in quotes. I say work as in homemaking, because homemaking is a job. Homemaking, there's no woman that's tougher than a homemaker. Okay? Always remember that. Don't look down on a woman for staying at home. Staying at home is harder than working a job when you have kids. In any case, when I say boy to a man, this perfectly emphasizes it. Okay, when you're a man, you start understanding that you are not a woman. And you start thinking of yourself in masculine terms. Right? And there's also a pretty good lesson here for the men. So, when we talk about the fall between Adam and Eve, Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in transgression. Why did the serpent target Eve? You think that was just coincidence? You think Satan does things on accident? No. Satan is evil, and we destroy Satan through Jesus Christ. But Satan is not stupid. He picked Eve for a reason. I'm not going to go too far into that because YouTube might ban this video. And this does not resolve Adam. Adam's sin, and this is the point, Adam's sin was blindly listening to his wife. And not being a man and being able to put his foot down and say, no, this is wrong. He allowed the woman to usurp him. And it's true this verse is in the context of the church. But the church reflects relationship. Not perfectly one-to-one, obviously there's little differences, but it reflects a relationship. So, in how you carry yourself, you should be a man worthy of the submission of woman. Don't take this as me saying be some fat loser and expect a woman to submit to you and do what you say. No. And have respect for you. No. Be a man. Because when you are a man, this woman will naturally do that for you, and they'll be happy to do it because God made a woman a certain way, and they're happy with a man that acts like a real man. Okay? That's the first one. Second one. This one's very important, especially for what I do. Let me break this up so it's easier to read. Mark 8:35. For whoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever, I use KJV, I usually don't read this version, but whoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel's, the same shall save it. So what it's saying here is that if you try and save your life, and what is saving your life? Saving your life is looking for the approval of men. That's saving your life. Looking for the approval of men before God. Let me put before God. So, I see this all the time. When Christian men are asked, is homosexuality wrong? And they're like, you see, that's like, it's none of my business. That's trying to save your life. You're looking for the approval of men before God. You have the truth, which in some sense is God, because God is truth. You have the truth, and you're diverting from it because men will look at you a certain way. It's kind of like when Jesus said, whoever denies me before others, I will deny before in heaven. Okay? You have to understand, you can't be afraid to express the faith. You can't be afraid to express things that are proper to Christianity. Part of the reason why we're in the situation we're in is because people just don't express the faith. They just don't tell the truth unabashedly. I'm not saying don't be charitable. I'm not saying be reckless. What I am saying is that always prioritize the truth before anything else. Truth comes first. Always. Never try to save your life for the sake of men. Okay? Be happier that men don't like you for telling the truth before you tell the truth so men will love you. 3. Matthew 22:36-9. And this is going to be a really interesting one. This is going to get deep into psychology. All right. The Bible teaches psychology, believe it or not. I know you guys hear a bunch of feminists talking about psychology, but we Christian men, the psychology taught in the Bible is so useful. Here's an example. We have to read in somewhat esoteric terms. Matthew 22:36-9. Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So, there's a surface level explanation of, okay, you should love your neighbor as yourself. You should see the way you love yourself, and you should treat others the same way. That's the golden rule. What's so complicated about this? What's so special? This is what's special about it. This is how to achieve things. You may think that's crazy, but listen to this. All right? Ultimately, a transgression against another person is transgression against oneself. Because you understand psychology, you understand this. Okay, so imagine this is a mind. Put M for mind. Let's say this person has a bad assumption about, or had a bad experience with their mom. So put mom, or just put a feminine symbol. Right? Bad experiences with their mom, and they are mad about it. Ultimately, transgression against other people is because of things like this. Okay? Very rarely are we mad at someone for the right reason. If you think about it, most times you're mad, you're being a little bit petty, and you're taking things from the past into the future and applying to other people. So when you have a chick, this is the incel thing. So when you have a chick who's kind of not super interested in you, you get angry at them. But you're not getting angry at the person necessarily, you're getting angry at your own image of woman. So this is yourself, right? Because you internalized and directed towards yourself the hatred of woman from your mom. And what this causes is you to look at other women the same way. This is a transgression against yourself. A transgression against another is a transgression against oneself. Because if oneself is not transgressing against themselves, they will not transgress against others. Because at a certain point, when you start healing these things through God, which I talk about in other videos, put a little medical symbol right there. When you start purifying things through God, you start seeing other people in different light. You start seeing them in more positive terms. You don't feel so angry at them. You don't feel like doing bad things to them. If you feel like doing bad things to other people, you feel like doing bad things to yourself. That's why. All right, you're just projecting it outwards. You have to project. You have to withdraw that projection and see it within yourself. And that's when you start making big change. And that's the deeper meaning of this verse. This changed my life because I was never super extreme in hating other people, but I would always look at other people and feel certain ways about things and wish they did things for me and so on and so forth. Maybe sometimes I would not do the greatest things to certain people. But after a certain amount of time, I noticed that all these things I was doing towards other people, I was internalizing before that. When I stopped internalizing it, I stopped doing it to them. So, of course, do unto your neighbor as you do upon thyself. There's a transgression against a transgression against your neighbor, is a transgression against yourself. These are 3 Bible verses that completely changed my life. See you next one. This will be completely free. The education resources you have right now suck. I know because I try to educate myself every single day. The stuff you find on YouTube sucks. The stuff you find everywhere sucks. So what I'm going to say is join my free Discord. There's literally no payment. I literally don't make any money right now off of this. So I'm not trying to sell you anything, but I have a Discord channel in there called Siloom where I talk about stuff that's important, free information every single day, and there's an active community every single day for you to talk to and make a brotherhood with.